as a member of the House of the opposition side, I would like to oppose today's motion that political candidates should require competency tests to run in the office. Because, in fact, I highly believe that running for political candidates should not require political competency tests. So, before we start, let's ask a question. What is a competency test? A competency test is a method used to evaluate an individual's through their skills, through their knowledge, and their behaviors for specific jobs. And in this case, it's for the government to test political candidates through competency tests. It's basically something similar to a test on paper. Although this system sounds really nice, a competency test itself could not address the real roots of political nihilism because political is not an academic competition, but it is built through leadership, representation, and the trust of the people. So I have my factors to support this is why first of all what I would like to address on why competency tests should not be required for political candidates is because it under undermines democracy, and you might wonder why it does so. Democracy is found on the principle of political equality, where each citizen's vote carries equal weight, because politics is meant for everyone, not for who and who passed the test. Competency tests can affect certain demographics too, for those who have lower levels of academic skills or formal educations, or those from marginalized communities, or those with disabilities. This can lead to a situation where a significant portion of the population is excluded from the democratic process. Politics is politics is not just about for those who knows the theories of sociology or the economy or even the law. But great leaders come from responsibility. They come from empathy. They come from the connection and similar conditions and relations to the people, to the citizens. With this, it builds a great leadership, not just based on how much scores that they receive in the test, but by understanding the struggles of the citizens. And of course, I will take one of the examples as I too learn history. For example, that I will take is from Sun Yat-sen, an important figure of the revolutionary of China who was born in families of poor farmers. Yet he became the first president of Republic of China because he understands the struggles of his own people and he wants to change that vision itself. And then secondly, I have my point that I would like to address is that next is competency test does not determine a political candidate's honesty. Because at the end of the day, there are many provocative questions like who created the test? And of course, and do you really believe that these people are blatantly honest? Let's take a simple example from schools. This is like a small example in schools because in schools, many students have at least attempted to cheat on their test and without getting caught, of course, and this can be a habit. That is, I said before, in school. Who knew what the possibilities that could happen in political competency tests? Even if these tests still exist, it does not mean that we will have better politicians because candidates who participate they often solely focuses on memorizing answers. They focuses on passing the test. And not only that, most candidates are focused on bribing and cheating on the test so that they can be selected. It's no surprise that many candidates would just cheat and bribe just to be selected. A test cannot solely determine one's leadership because these people tend to make bad decisions when they are in power. We all need to know that there are many questions in politicals that cannot be captured in just exam. So competency tests tend to give people a good outcome for political candidates even when they may not serve the people well. And lastly, to support my point, through political competency test, it does not completely erase the political nihilism Because political nihilism is not caused by the lack of knowledge. It can be caused through corruption, through nepotism, through false promises, bribing, and also injustice. So, even with competency test in a solution, if the system still remains to corrupt, then it is pointless to have a competition competency test, because at the end of the day, transparency for the public is needed for the people so they can see what their candidates' backgrounds are. They can see what their candidates are doing for the competency test. So it is really important to build trust within the people. So, in conclusion, just because political competency tests, it does not mean that we will have a better political candidates. We will never know behind the test. And not only that, competency test does not determine their intention, because these candidates will solely focus on the test, and when real problem starts, this is a huge possibility that these candidates will make bad decisions after being elected. And of course, democracy is built through trust, empathy, and relation to the citizens. So, competency test itself cannot determine a candidate's great leadership. So, that's all I have to say for this opposition. That I really hope that you will understand why competency test is not necessarily needed for political candidates, because there are many factors why that I have explained. Thank you so much for listening and paying attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.